Well, it's a. I hope it's a good night for the rest of the people down there. Tonight I decided to start a new series of videos because my Lighting August video that I made last week was kind of strange because after having 400 likes with my video about Jurassic Park and Jaws film, I thought that my audience had increased and that it would be better for me to have a better understanding of the contents of the videos I'm doing, but I don't know what is happening. Again, I find myself with a very poor rating, just 10 people, and I do want to reach a bigger public. That is why I decided to do this about Lighting August. As I was saying last week, I was willing to do a little review about Lighting August. I have several notes and I have read Lighting August 5 times. And that is why I was not willing to read it this time. Just to mention some details I had noted before. But I have been doing a rereading, an audiobook reading, and that is why I'm into this. Well, as I was saying, I did some audiobook about Lighting August because there are a lot of pages to deal with, especially in Spanish. I have not found an English version. The only book of Faulkner I read in English, it was Absalom. It was kind of difficult the very first time, and the second time I tried to read in Spanish in order to fill in the gaps and find where it was actually going. Well, the first book I read about Faulkner was Absalom. I like calling it Absalom rather than Absalom. It was in 2010, and in 2011, yeah, it was, yep. I found a little reading of the short novel or novella of The Bear, part of one of the biggest chapters in God and Moses, that it is sometimes sold or mentioned separately. And the third novel I read about Faulkner was Lighting August. When I was reading it, I was so ashamed that I was reading so slowly, but when I was able to read it, I was like, oh, this stream of consciousness is so wonderful that I just want to stop this reading of the novel just 1 second, just 1 minute, in order to keep on writing my novel about New Roseland 2, the second part of New Roseland, because this flux of words, this stream of consciousness, is precisely the thing that I was thinking when I was writing New Roseland, because I actually wrote this way before reading Faulkner, and when I started reading him, then I said, oh, I want my novel about Roseland to be written, to be narrated right this way, and that is why I found it was important for me to keep on reading Faulkner. I read all of the Faulkner novels in 2020, and I have the audiobooks of all of them, and I was listening to them in my trips from Tabasco back to my town here in Seaside. And after all, I was just checking what is happening. I read Lighting August in the whole day since like 10 a.m. up to 4 a.m. of the next morning. It was like 18 hours. No, why 18 hours? If it is just 14 hours in the audiobook, I don't know. And after all, I did some notes about Lighting August and about all of the novels of Faulkner because I am willing to write a book, a study book, about all of the novels in Faulkner and the intertextual contents. I mean, because I know that the Deep South has several symbols that are very important. But I noticed several scenes that are very common or repetitive or quite meaningful for Faulkner among all of his novels. I am not in favor of his tales because I knew that some of his tales are not so good for him. He just admitted he wrote them in order to sell them, not just to be deeper or just to be as, I don't know, as reflective or as interesting as their as his novels were. As I was saying, I took several notes about Light in August, and I am doing a rereading, a fifth reading, and that is why I noticed some stuff. In the beginning, we have Lena Grove. Some say Lena Grove. I prefer Lena because Lena seems like Luna. No, I don't like it. And it reminds me a little bit like Darl in As I Like Dying, because she's the little girl, the young girl, the peasant girl that is pregnant, and we don't know exactly where or how or how did she fell into this trap. And then we have also Sulpen's sister in Absalom, and he's narrating that he didn't know how did she get the baby. He just remembered that she was pregnant and then she had the baby. And Lena is pretty much the same in these three novels, the same archetype, or the same image, the same symbol, I don't know, the same scene. Also, the Lena family died in a cabin that was burned, and it is narrated mentioned in the beginning of the novel of Light in August, and then it is a symbol, according to me, of the burning of the Bondren house. That is the core part of the novel. Everything it is narrated because of the several points of view related to the house burning, and it is a symbol of Absalom also when the mansion is burning. Well, here we have Uncle Buck, this old guy, and he is saying that Christmas, his grandson, despite all the things that he knows about Christmas, because he hates him a lot, he hates Christmas, because he considers Christmas is guilty of the death of his only daughter. And he mentioned that Christmas is an executioner, against the lust of women. So that all of the crimes that Christmas is doing are allowed by God or by destiny or whatever almighty force you may consider to be a purge on women. I mean that women must pay their lust, their evil pleasures, with all of the rage, with all of the violence that Christmas is doing, especially against them, because Christmas is doing several acts of violence or crime, not just the whiskey bootlegging, not just that. She's doing a lot of things, especially against women. That is what I was saying, that this novel is very cruel and violent, and there are many terrible scenes. Some people say that Sanctuary has the worst images of the raping of the Temple Grey case, this girl. But in the case of Light in August, I noticed that it is even terrible. It is not narrated, but it is felt an ambience, a cloud, a fog of violence and hatred among people, among the both races. I mean, because Christmas, as I was saying, he is like White Fang in the novel. We all know White Fang, and he was bullied by the wolves, and he was frightening he was scary from the point of view of the average dogs, from the civilized dogs, if we may say. That is why Christmas, he is not able to deal with any society, because when he's with the black society, he cannot feel sure. He hates them. And when he's with the white society, he knows they hate them. They hate him, sorry. So that is why it is an important thing about Christmas. Well, as I was saying, Christmas, there is a small symbolism between Christmas and Hightower, because Christmas, he's actually traveling from one place to another one without any luggage. The only things he's ever wearing is this suit that he is the only thing we know about him when he starts working in the sawmill. And then we know that Hightower is always bearing a razor blade. We know this foldable little thing that was very popular in the beginning of the 20th century. And also Christmas. In the case of Christmas, it is a weapon, because Christmas is not able to, he's not fond of fist fighting or any guns. He's not bearing any guns. He's just bearing this razor. In the case of Christmas, in the case of Hightower, he uses, yes, I guess it's a use word. He uses this razor in order to help a black woman to have her baby, but unluckily, he died. But in this case, we have the same weapon, the same tool, the same piercing, cutting thing, and in this case, in one case is shown or used to give life, and in the other one is to take it. We don't know if Christmas has killed people with this one, but at least we know that he is very fond of using it as his only weapon for self-defense or for committing his crimes. Despite we all know that in August he is just a victim of the circumstances. We all know that he is being cruel and evil against people, especially women, as I was saying. But in this case, with all the points of view we realize that we do not excuse his behavior. We know he is a consequence of the society in which his story is developing. We know that. We are 11 minutes, sorry. But I was saying, we know the reasons that motivate Christmas to commit this crime. But in this case, we know that we are not allowed to excuse him. He may be a victim, but we must know that he's also producing some victims. In this case, Christmas is a little bit like the boy in Pylon, this little boy that is born from this acrobatic girl and the two pilots, and they don't know and they don't care. Also, the little boy do not know who is his real father. He is grown without any possible chance to know his own origins, his own identity. And in the case of Miss Quenty, or Jim Bond in Absalom, Miss Quenty in Sound and Fury, we may say that Miss Quenty is also pretty much the same. That since she was born, but she was adopted by Jason and Jason's mother, so that is why we realize that she is grown as a lonely girl, and especially as a mischievous girl. And also Christmas later is gone to a foster house, and it says that the father is a very stern and cruel religious person, and that is why he's also growing with this idea of violence for purging, for purifying people. And despite he hates this violence, he is prone to produce this violence later. And well, Shotpen and Christmas, they both have this symbol, another symbol, that it is the death by a razor. Well, not exactly, because Shotpen died because of a scythe or blade for mowing the lawn or for the crops, we know. And Christmas died despite he was shot several times. He is killed and mutilated with this razor that was his only weapon, and by somebody of the... Well, Christmas and Shotpen, they all are killed by somebody of another social class. In the case of Christmas, he's killed by people who think of themselves as a better and higher society, and in the case of Shotpen, he was Jones, he knows that Shotpen is superior towards him according to hierarchy or social class and money, and because he was a hero of the Civil War, but he's killed by Wash. And in this case, both Shotpen and Christmas, they both die by the cutting edge of a razor or a scythe. That is also the symbolism of the death. We all know the Grim Reaper wearing this huge scythe in order to cut away the life of people. And in this case, we can say the same about Christmas and Sulpen. Sorry. Well, another connection here is Christmas and Sertoris, because they both explored the world, the whole world, before reaching the town in which they died. Also, Henry Sulpen, because Henry Sulpen, we know he was gone away 60 years before he just reached Yoknapatawpha in order to die inside the old manor. And also the Bayard Sartoris II, I rather say, and he dies after traveling around the world, around Mexico and the States and the newer Western states, and then he comes back just to die in his own town. This is a symbolism that we have in these three characters. Well, Christmas and Brown are poles. They are friends, close friends, or they are just... Well, I don't mean that Brown is his sidekick, but they are quite... They are very close friends. Not friends as we all know, but they are... At least they work together and they live together. Also, Henry Sulpen and Charles Bond, they both have the same behavior. And because they are the, and if we might say later, that is Shreve and Quentin, because Christmas and Brown, they are like Bond and Henry, sorry, because Christmas is the black guy and Brown is the white guy. And we can say the same about Henry and Charles Bond, despite that we all know they are friends later. But we notice that it is a quite common scene in these two novels, in Absalom and Light in August. It is quite repetitive because, well, I will mention later that even Henry and Quentin in Christmas, they are considered like mulattoes or like people of blood or mixed blood, because they notice that Quentin is having a strong southern accent when he is there in Harvard, and they consider him that he is a black guy of those that they use in the minstrel songs and so on. That is why. And they are also noticed that Bond is kind of like French, they insist. They say Christmas was like Italian or from Mexico. I don't know, it is not established because they all say that he is a foreigner. In this case, Christmas and Bond and Henry too and Quentin, they four are compared because since they were born in the South and they have a white family heritage and formation, they have this strong accent in this conservative, well, rather conservative, sorry, clothing, and that is why they insist that they are not precisely white. Well, later we have Hightower, and well, we all know that Faulkner was very fond of reading Don Quixote every year, and in the second book of Don Quixote we have this priest and this barber, and in this case Hightower, he is both of them. We all know that he was a graduated priest or a person, or I don't know what is the word that you may refer to him, because there are many words. I rather say he was a priest. And he will have this barber, because we know that Hightower is bearing this razor. And in Don Quixote, we all know this novel in the second part that has more concrete elements, that this priest and this barber, they are always together against Don Quixote, against Don Quixote or beside him, so they are both times his friends and his imaginary enemies. So they are with him and against him every time. So since Faulkner, he said he is very fond of Don Quixote, so I'd rather say that Hightower is a mixture of both of them, because Hightower, despite these huge lectures about civil war and salvation, mixed, and that is why he was dismissed of his parish later. he is like a good guy, we know. Despite he was cheated by her, by his wife, we know that he is the good guy, no? Despite he was kicked and hurt sometimes. Well, here we have Christmas and Mrs. Borden. We know that he's a... No, sorry, Patty Borden. In Christmas, is, as I was saying, Christmas and Mr. Bonder, it is pretty much like the granddaughter of Wash Jones and Salt Pen, because he was established that they should have a kid, and if it happens, they will get married. No? In this case, this woman that is lodging Christmas, she insists that she is willing to have a kid, despite Christmas is not agree. He is not in favor. In Sudpen, we know that he was saying, even he said, Miss Rosa Caulfield, that if we have a kid and if we reproduce, I don't know, and if it is born, if that baby is a boy, I will marry you. No, it's pretty much saying that this non-reciprocate love for kids, I mean, that only one person is willing to have the kid, and after that, if it happens, a factual marriage is or will be, but if not, unless there is a baby boy, there is no marriage and there is no more relationship. Well, another thing that I was comparing is Ringo and Bayard in The Unvanquished. It is pretty much like Christmas and Brown and the two pylon pilots, and also the, as I was saying, Christmas and Brown, and Henry and Charles Bond. Here we have in these four novels this comparison of the couple of friends that are very willing to be not precisely the stars of the show, of the novel, sorry. Here we have this comparison. In the case of Pylon, it is not the black guy and the white guy that we have seen in several body films or cop body films, but it is pretty much the same in Vanquish, like in August and Absalom, more especially than Pylon, because here we have this manly friendship, and they are together, they have many things in common, especially the social classes or the origins, but they are scarcely or separate in so many ways. And one, it is learning things from the other one, like we know with Charles Bond and Henry Sudpen. In this case of Brown, because Brown is doing this trafficking of alcohol with Christmas. And Ringo and Bayard, they all are doing these frolicking around during the end of the Civil War. Here is this uneven couple. Well, here we have other things in Light in August. As I was saying, later we know that girls always want sex, but sometimes they just can't figure it out how or when. That is what I was saying, because it is mentioned pretty much like this in the novel. Here I do not want to sound against diversity and stuff, but in this case, sometimes I rather agree, but that is not. And that is why girls are always willing or prone towards sex. That is why Uncle Buck is saying that Christmas is willing to force them, to purify them through the violence that he is exerting against women. As I was saying, I was reading Latin August, and I know all the crimes, all the violence, all this ruthless of Christmas, and I say, oh, I have principles, I have my own behavior, and I am not in favor of Christmas. I don't like Christmas, but that doesn't mean that I cannot say that this novel is not fun. Well, not fun, interesting. Well, later we know that we do not know, if Christmas has left any sons. We all, in the ending of Absalom, we know that we all will be Charles Bond some way in the future. Yeah, but in the case of Light in August, we do not know if among all these raping spree that Christmas has been doing along the nation, is there any sons born through the women that he has been raping? Because we know these things, that he enjoys raping girls or wooing girls, and later he just saying, oh, I have a black ancestry or so. And we do not know if there is any kids born. And in the case of Absalom, we do know that this offspring of Charles Bond that is lost or is just missing in the end when the house is burning, that it will reproduce and will populate the earth finally. But in the case of Christmas, we do not know. Actually, Christmas is castrated, he's mutilated, and so he's mentioned that, he's told that, oh, so we'll cut you so that you do not harm any more girls. Now you are gone. Now you are sent to hell. Something like that, As I was saying, the lawyer let Charles Bond do his will. The lawyer that was like the father figure of Charles Bond in Absalom let him do his will. In the case of Light in August, we have this foster father, and he's not letting him do anything. He's a quite conservative and violent, we rather say nowadays, passive-aggressive father that is forbidding almost anything, everything. So Christmas has this sexual and violent repression throughout his whole life. As I was saying, Lena Grove, it is a little bit like this film about Natalie Portman. Sorry, I have almost half an hour mentioning this. I'll try to go faster. There is a film with Natalie Portman called Where the Heart Is, I guess is the name. And it is about a little girl that is very young. And then she happens to be pregnant. And she is a single mother, and she is just looking for the so-called father after all. And when I was reading Light in August in 2020, I was recalling this film of Natalie Portman, and I was saying, oh yeah, it's pretty much like this, but in modern times of Light in August. It's pretty much like this. This little girl that it is even barefoot when she is walking around the shopping center. As I was saying, Absalom and August Light, they have a noir time or a noir tone. They seem sometimes like police novels, like mystery novels, but there are several things with this. There are still some things, no, I almost over. Sorry. I just checking the notes. I will add more notes once I finish reading Light in August. As I was saying, I consider, because there is this whole research, because where is Christmas? Where has he been? He's been spotted over here, he's seen over there. And we are chasing, there is a reward, we have a witness, we have a sidekick, in this case Brown. And there is the bad guys looking for him. I mean, the bad guy is the sheriff, and also Christmas is looking for him, and Buck is looking for him, and Brown is looking for Christmas, so Christmas is the core of the story. Some others say it's Lena Grove, because Lena Grove is detonating this, but I don't know. In the case of Christmas and Bond, they have this ending. As I was saying, we do not know if Bond is having any further offspring after this little guy called Jim Bond. We know that this damnation that falls upon Bond in Christmas, in the case of Christmas, it is the end of his family, if we may say, but in the case of Bond, it may or may have not continued. Well, let me check. As I was saying, Lena Grove, it is a little symbol of Saint Mary because she's the white poor woman. She's also very young, and she is related to a carpenter or to a person in the case of Byron, who is working for a sawmill. So that is why it is a little symbolism. We all know that Faulkner is full of symbolism, but in this case it is just a little one. I just want to go beyond the common places. Well, as I was saying, this woman, Eulalia Bond, Lena Grove, Temple Drake, in La Burning Pylon, and this girl of the Snopes, Eula Barner, no, it is the Snopes, this woman, they are pretty much like that because they are strong women, as I was saying for Faulkner, despite several people say that Faulkner was a womanizer and that he was quite misogynist. I'd rather say that he was absolutely contrary because he's saying in Absalom that women for him, they are sacred, they are holy, they are these priestesses that kept the Confederacy or the soldiers of the Confederacy alive with the hope that they were feeling towards them. In this case, Faulkner in Absalom is saying a lot of evil things about women sometimes, but it is saying more things, more favorable things about girls, about women, in Absalom and the rest of the novels, because, as I say, Eulalia, Lena, Temple, Laverne, they all are always strong women. They are in a terrible reality. As I was saying, they behave like men, and that is why they are admired and sometimes hated by other women who are married. As I was saying, these women are breaking the stereotype that we all know about women 100 years ago, and that all these feminist groups have been enhancing. And as I was saying, Faulkner has established these female roles in his novels, and I consider they are quite important and they do deserve a further study. And what else? I don't know, it is just everything. I don't know. There are many things in Light in August. It is not just a story of revenge or a story of lynchings or a story of the people burning that is mentioned in Barn Burners. This tale, I don't recall it. I don't feel like details a lot. What I was saying, Light in August is a very interesting novel. It is the second big novel of Faulkner I have read, and it is very important for me. I mean, I read it and I was checking all these things, and I was very willing to stop it just to keep on reading. And I was saying, Light in August is terrible because we all know this violence. We all know this violence against kids, this violence against people of different races. But also, as I was checking in another video on YouTube, there is this huge and powerful and terrible character that is the crowd or the city. Not precisely the whole city because it was a small city. The city, the people, the white people, if we may say, that they are doing all the things because we all know Christmas may or may have not killed this woman, and they were about to imprison and almost lynch Brown. But once Brown said, oh no, Christmas is black, and he killed her. And now the whole people, this crowd, is united as a nameless and faceless group or character that he is that it is strengthened through this hatred in order to destroy, to judge, and to destroy Christmas. Also, we may mention Percy Grimm and Uncle Buck, because they were like not precisely the leaders, but the representatives of the people of this nameless crowd called the city, or the society, or the white people, or the conservative people, or the society, would rather say. But it's not the whole society, it's not the whole class, it is just the city, or the crowd. And as we may say in a Bradbury tale, this crowd, it is the main antagonist of Christmas, because he is fighting this society or this crowd with no name and no specific faces. And it is the main character also because everything it is related to them, because they have to do with the people. I mean, like, he didn't say that, oh, Lena, he doesn't care for the people, for what may the women say, what may the society say, given the fact that she's pregnant. She doesn't care, she's just behaving like that, and she has a goal to accomplish, and she doesn't care for anything else. And this is a strong thing in Latin August. The feminism I can outstand here. Well, as I was saying, I don't have a final conclusion for Latin August. I would rather say we must read it, we must appreciate it, we must have sometimes a strong stomach to deal with it, but it is a great novel. I don't consider it like I consider Absalom the best novel of Faulkner. Some people say so, but I prefer it than Sound and Fury, because Sound and Fury is sometimes overrated compared, because the other novels have many things to do, have many things to say about the life in the Deep South, and some things that have not changed, because all this prejudice, all this hatred, all this class, caste, and gender issues are still current, despite this a century later. But I hope that this video may have more subscribers and more comments.